Hey, yogis. All right, just give me a second here. It's not quite 2 p.m. I'm just going to go share the link on my Instagram page just because I said I would, so I should. Those of you who are already here, it would be awesome if you could use the chat box and just let me know if you can hear me and see me properly, just so I know that everything is working properly. All right, just getting the link. There, I think that should work. All right, yay, everyone can see me, can hear me. All right, I think this is my first ever AMA or Ask Me Anything Q&A video here on YouTube. But if you don't already know, I injured myself about 2 weeks ago. I hurt my thumb right here and my knee. So I don't have my cast anymore, which is really exciting. But I can't really do anything with my hand quite yet. Like I can't pick anything up because it causes pain. And I have this big brace thing for my knee when I have to walk. But basically, guys, I am so bored. I am so bored. I'm a very active person, and the last thing I want to do is just kind of be on the couch all day and in bed all night doing nothing, but I have no choice. This is what I need to do to heal. So I thought, you know what? To help me pass the time and break up my day, I should just go live on YouTube and answer some of your questions. Now, for people who weren't able to make it live, I gave them the option of sending me questions ahead of time, and I was like bombarded with them. So I think I'm going to do these on a more regular basis because it's obvious to me that I am just not able to answer all of your questions in one sitting. But let's just go, and I'm going to just answer one question that I got, but please go ahead in the chat box, start putting your questions in there, and I'll do my best to answer the ones that I get. I'm just going over my notes here. Okay, so one question that I got quite a bit on Instagram was, do I have someone taking care of me during this time? Yes, and a lot of people ask me, do you have a boyfriend? Are you married? Status like that. So I do have a boyfriend. I have a lovely boyfriend named Anthony, and he's been taking great care of me throughout this time. I don't know what I would have done alone on my own, especially the timing of this injury has been really difficult because we just got a little puppy. Her name is Luna. She's 5 months old, and we got her 2.5 weeks ago. And a couple days after getting her, it was actually while running with Luna that I tripped and fell and injured myself. And anyone who's ever had a dog or a puppy knows that they require a tremendous amount of work. So he's been doing 100% of the cooking, the cleaning, taking care of the dog, taking care of me. It's been amazing. I'm very lucky. But yeah, so I do thankfully have someone taking care of me. And people have been asking me, are you married? We are not married. We've been together almost, it's going to be 7 years this summer. So we've been together for a very long time. And if you look in the back here, like if you see the images, that's us in Europe a couple years ago when we did a trip. Okay. Going through the questions, do you apply TCM to your yin yoga classes, traditional Chinese medicine? So for some of them, I have a yin yoga meridian series on YouTube, and that's using traditional Chinese medicine with the theory of the meridians, but otherwise that's pretty much it. Carolyn says, I just bought your book and I love it. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I really appreciate that. Alejandro asks, how did this injury happen? I fell while running with my dog. Okay, Harmony asks, do you recommend that we do lunar yoga around the time of the new and full moon and not on the day of, because in Eastern yoga, it is a holiday? No, I would recommend doing it on the new moon or on the full moon, but so the time of the new moon, while the new moon only technically happens on one night, it's a period of like 3 days. So if you can do the practices like one day before or after the new moon or on the new moon itself, it's best. Same thing with the full moon. So just around that time when the energy levels are kind of matching the yoga practice is when it would be the best. Okay, sorry. How old are you? I'm 27 years old. My birthday is October 9th. So in this October coming up, I'll be 28, which is a little insane. But yeah, I'm 27 years old. What's the best style of yoga for improving circulation? Um, I don't know. That's a bit of a tricky one. I'm not sure that one style of yoga would be better than the other one. How are you wanting to improve your circulation? You do need to be careful in like vinyasa practices because when you're doing sun salutations, you're going up and going down. So, you inhale, arms reach up, exhale, forward, fold down. That transition up to down in just one breath can be really, really difficult for people who have either high blood pressure or low blood pressure. So you might get dizzy and it might be a little too much, and that has to do with your blood circulation. So I wouldn't say that necessarily one style is better than the other. You just have to be mindful in more powerful or active forms of yoga classes and yoga styles. You might need to slow it down a little bit and keep your breathing. Just with any kind of blood pressure issues or circulation issues, it's really, really important that you go at your own pace, that you have a lot of water. And usually heated yoga classes will be a lot more challenging. So maybe stick to room temperature. Okay, this is a hard question. What's your dream in life you want to achieve or already achieve? My dream in life. To be honest, I feel very, very grateful that I've already achieved a big dream of mine, which was to live a bit more of a freedom lifestyle. When I was younger, I had a really hard time choosing a career path. When you're like a teenager, and even before then, teachers and family members are always asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do with your life? And I hated that question all the time because whenever I would pick something, I would always get bored of it. I've always been someone that, like, every 5 years, I get bored of whatever it is I'm doing and I want to do something else. So every time they would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I knew that I would never ever be able to pick just one thing, because I knew that, okay, I want to be a journalist, or I want to be on TV, or I want to be a social worker. For example, like I went to college and I got my social worker technician diploma. Then I went to university and I did a bachelor's in psychology and linguistics. Because at first I thought, oh, I want to be a social worker. And then I got bored of that because I always get bored of things. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to be a speech therapist. So I studied psychology and linguistics. And it's not like I didn't enjoy social work, or it's not like I didn't enjoy psychology and linguistics or speech therapy. It's just that the idea of being pigeonholed into doing just one thing to me is super scary and threatening and not at all what I wanted. And it was the same thing with being a yoga teacher. I wanted to be a yoga teacher. I love being a yoga teacher, but I knew that just being a yoga teacher was not enough for me. I needed like an extra layer of freedom, which is why teaching online was such a good career path for me, because now I get to be like a CEO. I run my own business and I have side businesses on, that kind of go along with what I do here on YouTube. And then I was able to like quit my job for the city of Ottawa and do this yoga with Kassandra gig full time. So that was really my dream in life, was to create some kind of career that would allow me flexibility and fluidity, so that if I do decide that I want to take a break from teaching online, I have the freedom and the flexibility to do something else. And my dream was to have flexibility in my schedule. So being able to work from anywhere in the world and being able to work from home, which I'm really happy to say that I can do that today. Now, of course, I have pets, so it's not like I can just take off and go anytime that I please, but I do have that freedom and flexibility. And so I consider myself very lucky, because that was what I wanted the most out of life. So I don't know. That's pretty much it. Okay, let me look at other. How long did it take you to master crow pose? Oh my God, a long time. Years, for sure. I started doing, one person asked me, how long ago did you start doing yoga? So when did you first start? I began my yoga practice about 10 years ago, and it took me at least 3 years to be able to master crow pose. I still remember the first time I was in a yoga class where the teacher demonstrated crow pose, and it was my teacher that I love very much, Louise Cameron. I did my first 200-hour training with her here in Ottawa. I remember her doing crow pose, in a yoga class, and I thought, that's crazy. Like, there's no way. There's no way in the world I'll ever be able to do that. And then she came over and she was like, okay, you try it, you try it. And I remember she was helping me trying to lift my legs, and it just was not happening. So don't worry about it. I remember I couldn't do chaturanga for years. I had no upper body strength whatsoever. I came from the ballet, the dance world. And so my legs were very strong, but my upper body, like, not at all. I could never even do a push-up. So it took me about 3 years. So don't get discouraged if it takes you a while to master any kind of arm balance. Okay, how often and how long should yoga workouts be? How many times a week and how many minutes or hours? Listen, guys, I get asked this question all the time, and there is no one size fits all. If you look at Ashtanga yoga practitioners, they do Mysore every single day except for like moon days and Sundays, I think. So they're literally practicing pretty much every day. To me, that doesn't work at all. I don't practice yoga every single day. I'm not saying that you can't and that you shouldn't. It's just that your body is going to be different than my body, and your fitness level is going to vary from my fitness level. It's all the same. And it also depends on what other forms of exercise do you have. So as a general rule of thumb, I make sure that for at least one day a week, I do absolutely nothing. So no form of exercise, not even yin yoga or restorative yoga. I think it's really important to have one day where you truly learn to rest. And then if you're going to be practicing yoga, you can do anything from 15 to 90 minutes a day if you wanted it to. I would just say try to find some balance between a yin practice and a yang practice. So find balance between an active, strong, dynamic practice like hatha, power, or vinyasa flow, and then mix it up a little bit once or twice a week with something that's a little bit slower like yin yoga or restorative yoga, or just a slow flow yin, so that you're not always pushing your body and you're really making sure that you respect it. Just ease your way into it. If you're new to a yoga practice, start twice a week and see how you feel and go from there. You can increase a little bit. If you're doing a daily practice and you really want to get yourself into a daily practice, I find that the best way to do that is to do it in the morning and just do 20 minutes. So 20 minutes to get out of bed and just stretch a little bit and, get the blood flow going, get your heart rate up, get ready for the day ahead, set your intention. And that's a really great way to practice yoga every day without being too harsh on your body and without it being too much and difficult. Okay, I just turned vegetarian considering going vegan. What do you recommend as a cheese substitute? Is there any place I can get this that isn't Whole Foods? I don't know. I'm not vegan. I tried going vegan a couple times. It's not working out for me. I don't eat meat. I haven't eaten meat in a little over 3 years now. But cheese is probably, I think, the one thing that's notoriously missing in the vegan world, right? So I've tried a lot of alternative cheese substitutes like Daya. I think it tastes absolutely disgusting. If you're looking for like an alternative cheese, I think you're better off going into like little artisan vegan shops. Like I know we have one of those in Ottawa. I have yet to try it, but honestly, it's like vegan meats are very easy to find. Like vegan meats and egg substitutes are super easy and delicious. Alternative vegan dairy, like milk, is really easy to find and really delicious. So that's easy, and I consume a lot of those, but I have yet to find a vegan cheese that is actually tasty and that actually tastes anything like cheese. They don't taste like cheese, but I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm not vegan. Do you like strength training or cardio better? Oh, good question. I've recently, well, now I'm off of it, but I love cardio, but I hate running. So now I can't, of course, because I'm on like bed rest and stuff, but I go for a long walk, at least 45 minutes every single day. I love, love, love cardio. It's really essential to me. I like, my favorite kind of cardio is really steep uphill climbs. I like to go like a slow, steady burn for a long period of time. And then if I do run, I prefer to just do like short sprints versus like long jogs. That is just the worst thing in the world for me. Strength training is really new to me. I'm really disappointed because about a month and a half or 2 months ago, I started doing like Greco classes, which is something we have here in Ottawa. It's basically just like high intensity interval circuit training. So you have like 8 stations, and then it's like each station you do whatever exercise for 1 minute and you alternate between them. and they use weights, and weights is something that I had never used in my entire life, but I'm really enjoying it. So I really can't wait to be all healed and ready to go back into that. Okay. Let me just go. Do you follow a special diet? Okay, that's something that I got so many questions on, and I can't believe so many people care about what I eat and how I exercise. I do not have a special diet, not whatsoever. I don't eat meats, but that's basically the only rule basically that I have in my diet. I literally eat everything else. I don't particularly avoid anything. I mean, of course, like I am a pretty healthy person in the sense that I don't eat that much junk food or that much sugar, but it's not like I completely avoid it anyway. Like I love dessert and I love salty food, especially like chips. Like that's my popcorn and chips. That is, if I could eat one thing for the rest of my life and not have any negative side effects from it, it would be like Tostitos chips and the Orville Redenbacher popcorn. I know those are terrible for you, but I'm super in love with those things. But no, I don't have a special diet. I eat very intuitively, whatever my body feels like it needs. I'm definitely not the kind of person who is going to do well on a diet. So I found that anytime in the past I've restricted myself in some way, so said I'm cutting off sugar or I'm cutting off processed foods or I'm cutting out flour, for example, whenever I say and I tell myself I cannot have something, that's when I want it the most. And that's usually when I tend to overdo it and even binge on those foods that I'm supposed to avoid. So I found that it's best for me to just kind of get rid of those rules and just go intuitively with what my body wants. And that's how I'm able to kind of keep things moderate in my diet. Does yoga make you get less fat? Ugh, like I am. Okay, I had a couple questions actually about yoga and weight loss, and I'll just address them here. I am not an advocate for yoga and weight loss. It's hard for me to like talk about this, but I really, really, really don't want yoga to be used as a tool for weight loss. That being said, if you use yoga to lose weight and it works for you, that is amazing. Good for you. Keep doing what you're going to do. Of course, if you do power yoga, vinyasa yoga regularly, and you watch what you eat, of course you will lose weight. However, I've gotten a lot of requests to do yoga for weight loss videos, and I absolutely refuse to do so. I do not want my yoga classes to be part of the weight loss machine. We have enough people out there, enough advertising, enough media telling us that we need to lose weight, that we need to get toned and lose belly fat and all that kind of garbage. I don't want to be a part of that system. I want my yoga classes to be where you can turn to just turn all that shit out and to tune it off and not worry about, losing your belly fat and, getting toned or whatever. Just, oh, it rattles me up. I don't want to be part of the weight loss game and the weight loss machine. I believe yoga is the one place that we can turn to really learn to love our bodies exactly as they are in the present moment, not when we lose 5 pounds, not after we lose the belly fat or anything like that. Just, it's not for me. So no, I'm not going to be giving tips on how to lose weight with yoga. No offense to any yoga teacher out there who does those kinds of classes. I mean, if you go on YouTube and you look yoga weight loss, there's a ton of teachers doing that kind of stuff. No offense to you, it's just not right for me. It doesn't feel ethical to me, and it's not what I want my platform to be about. And of course, no offense again, I've certainly lost weight doing yoga. I mean, when I was first getting into my yoga practice, when you first get into yoga and you find it, I know for me, I became a little bit obsessive about it. You do it every day and you're so excited, and it's like the best thing ever to discover yoga for the first time. And I was doing vinyasa flow every single day at my studio, or 4 or 5 times a week. And it was heated classes. So of course I lost weight. I definitely felt like my stomach was flatter and things like that. So it will give you those kinds of results. I just don't want to market my yoga classes as being yoga for weight loss. So sure, do my vinyasa yoga classes regularly and you will probably lose weight. but you will never, ever, ever see a yoga for weight loss class on my channel or a yoga for weight loss series. So I hope you can understand where I'm coming from here. Yes, yoga is about self-acceptance. I agree. Oh, this is a great question. So someone asked, Santia Bell asked, how much of a stretch feeling is healthy and will help increase range of motion while not causing injury? Like, ow, I'm really feeling the pull in my inner thighs. 5 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Yes, I totally know what you mean. Okay, this is a great question. So I did ballet for like 16 years, and the mentality there for stretching was like more is more, like always push a little bit further. Yoga is not that way at all, especially for yin yoga. I always like to tell people that on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is I feel nothing in the pose and 10 is I feel pain because I'm stretching so much, you want to stay at about a 4 or a 5. So for most people, that means going way less far into a pose than what you're used to. I know for me that was really strange because I was used to getting the maximum amount of sensation in my muscles and in my joints. So it felt like I wasn't doing enough. But over time, I found that my range of motion and my flexibility dramatically improved once I learned to pull back a little bit. So now I really do work with the philosophy that less is more. Less is more. Another thing to watch out for here is that if you're practicing yoga in a heated space, which I'm not knocking, I personally love hot yoga. I love it. I'm always cold, so I love to get into a hot room and move. However, you need to be extra careful in a heated room because that heat is going to trick your body into thinking that it is way more flexible than it actually is. So you need to pull back even more. So that would be my recommendations. Could you please recommend a good yoga mat? Honestly, my favorite yoga mat costs $5 and it came from Chapters. And it's just very, very thin. I like thinner mats, which I know most people don't enjoy, but it works for me because I can fold it up and take it with me wherever I go, and it travels really easily. Otherwise, I use the Lululemon mats that are like no sweats or no slip grip or something like that. They have a little bit more cushioning and they don't slip at all, which is really great if you're doing hot yoga. Okay. Let me see. Do you have any classes for helping with lung capacity or seasonal allergies? I don't have a class for seasonal allergies. However, I do have a yin yoga class for the heart and lung meridians. I would really recommend for allergy season and for your lung capacity. That's a great class for that. And I would also recommend trying my air element yoga flow. All of those 2 classes are on YouTube. So heart and lung yin meridians and the air element yoga flow. Mm. What is your religion? I don't have one. I'm not a religious person. I was not raised in a religious household whatsoever. Okay, I'm going to check off some of the questions that I got on Instagram. Okay, one question that I got was, who does my videos? Now, guys, I'm pretty much a one-woman show. I do my videos myself. I have started hiring someone to film my videos. His name is Ivan Cook. He's a videographer based out of Ottawa, here where I live. However, I do 100% of my editing. I don't like other people to edit my videos. I feel like they just don't do it the way that I want them to do it. So I always do my editing. All the classes that are done at Yoga Addict. So that blue studio, it has like the blue panel background and the pillows in the background. Every time you see a video from that space, I have filmed it myself and I have edited myself. The videos that are filmed by another videographer, by Ivan Cook, are the new classes on my channel that are kind of like orange. It's like, how do I describe it? It's like, I don't know. I have to go look at my videos to see how I can describe it, but it's kind of like orange in the background. And there's like a fireplace in the background and wood panel walls. That was filmed by someone else, but again, edited by me. But yeah, I do my videos myself. I just prefer it that way. Another question that I got was, let me just open the document here. Oh, where does my name come from? So I thought that was a pretty funny question to ask. So my name is Kassandra. The story that my mother told me was that when she was pregnant, two of her other friends were pregnant with her at the same time. And she told her girlfriends that she wanted to name her baby either Melissa, Stephanie, or Kassandra. Her two friends went into labor before her and stole her baby names. So one of them named her kid Stephanie, and the other friend named her kid Melissa. So my mom was stuck with Kassandra. But to be honest, I'm quite happy with Kassandra. I'm glad, no offense, but I'm glad I wasn't named Stephanie or Melissa. I don't think it would fit me very well. I think Kassandra would fit me a lot better. Okay, Elsu asks, hi Kassandra, would you consider doing a meditation challenge, especially now if you can't do yoga? I enjoyed your meditation challenge from 2016, or when was it? I did it recently. I've gotten a lot of questions about that. So a lot of questions about doing meditation videos or doing yoga for injury videos. And if I do one, it's not going to be right now. And here is my reasoning. I have never taken a break. This is the first time I've taken a break, and it's a mandatory break because I can't do anything. And while, yes, I could totally film meditation videos and I could totally film chair yoga videos, but the truth is, right now, before I focus on creating things for other people, I know I need to focus on myself. And that means taking at least 3 more weeks of not filming anything. And that's going to be hard for me, but at the same time, I know it's really important. You know, of course, a meditation, like it wouldn't hurt my hand and it wouldn't hurt my knee, but it would still be a lot for me to rent studio space, to set up all my equipment, to edit everything afterwards. And I need to not do that right now. So I hope you guys can understand. Maybe in the future, I'm going to do another meditation challenge or a yoga for injury series because I know it would benefit a lot of people. And, you know, I've gotten messages from other people saying, oh my God, this is a great opportunity. You can capitalize on this. You can market this. It's just, that's just not where my head and my hearts are right now. Right now, I'm very much just focused on healing, on recovering, and on resting. So hopefully in the future, I will put something like that together. But honestly, right now, I need to just take care of myself and rest. So I hope you guys can understand that. Eve asked, what was your profession before you became a yoga teacher? That's a funny question. So I started off, I studied social work at Cité Collégiale here in Ottawa. I did a 2-year diploma there. Then I went to university at University of Ottawa. I did my bachelor's in psychology and linguistics. And I was doing my bachelor's full time, but during my last year, I actually got hired by the city of Ottawa on a temporary part-time basis. And it was for corporate security. I was a data clerk. I was basically just doing data entry. And that was supposed to be like a temporary gig. You know, it had nothing to do with psychology and linguistics. It had nothing to do with social work. It had nothing to do with what I was studying. So I didn't think it was going to end up being a permanent thing. But if you've ever worked for the government or for the city, like they are really amazing employers. And I was lucky enough that they offered me a full-time position. So I took it for a while. It was really crazy. I was doing full-time university, full-time working for the city of Ottawa, and I was doing my 200-hour teacher training. So I get asked a lot, like, how do you keep up with doing everything? How do you keep up this busy schedule? To be honest, it's all I've ever known. For the past 5 years, I've been very much used to doing these crazy, like 80, 90, 100-hour weeks, Of course, the last year and a half has been a lot slower because I quit the city of Ottawa and I'm now doing yoga with Kassandra full time. But I hustled for many, many years. So before I switched and left the city completely to do yoga with Kassandra online, I was running the two at the same time. I was working for the city of Ottawa. I was a security system specialist for corporate security, part of the Emergency and Protective Services Department. And I basically redesigned the access control system for the city. And I was doing like service call management. It's basically like project management. And I loved it very much. I loved my coworkers. I loved my bosses. Everyone there was like my number one fan, and they were so supportive of yoga with Kassandra. It was really hard for me to do a 40-hour work week and then do another 40-hour to do yoga with Kassandra, because that's how much it was taking me to run this thing online. So eventually with the city, I went to a 4-day work week, which allowed me to work a little bit more on my online business. And then in October 2016, I finally pulled the plug. I quit the city of Ottawa and I incorporated, so Yoga with Kassandra is an incorporated business, and I've been doing that ever since. But yeah, otherwise, before then, I was doing City of Ottawa stuff, working for the government. Okay. So yeah, Jennifer's like, wow, you really do need to rest. Yes, guys, I really do need to rest. I've been going nonstop for a long time, and I'm not complaining because I truly, genuinely love what I do, and it doesn't really feel like work. But at the same time, I know that it's good for me to just do nothing for a little while. So I am really enjoying it. Okay. How much time do you invest in your yoga channel? A ton. Time is hard to quantify. So my YouTube channel is only like, if you think of like a pie, YouTube channel is only like one slice of that pie, because there's a lot of other things that go into running Yoga with Kassandra. There's a lot of admin work. So just answering the emails or managing the Facebook groups. Lunar yoga is now really what consumes the most of my time. That's my like private community for women where we do new moon and full moon classes. I am just so in love with that community that I've built and that program that I've created. So that's really taking a lot of my time. For YouTube, it's not necessarily that I work on it for a few hours every day. I would say that it's probably more like 1 week out of the month is dedicated to YouTube. So probably a quarter of my time overall is dedicated towards creating new videos, editing those videos, publishing them to YouTube, and then promoting those videos as they come out. Hopefully that helps. Oh, this is a good question. How do I get back to yoga, especially when I feel very lazy, but at the same time, I feel guilty when I don't practice? I've been there. I think every yoga practitioner has been there at least one time in their life. So what I usually do when I know that I should get on my mat, but I don't feel like it, first thing that I do is put on my yoga clothes. Although, to be honest, I basically live in yoga clothes now because I work from home. So it's like, why not just wear yoga pants? So what I will do when I know I should do yoga, but I don't feel like it, I will literally just go sit on my yoga mat. I sit on my yoga mat, I close my eyes, I take a few breaths, and I just feel it out. Usually after like a minute or two of this, I'll instinctively start to move. And I'll start to do like cat and cow, and then I'll usually just get into my practice, just doing a few stretches. However, if after a couple minutes of sitting on my yoga mat, I still don't feel like doing yoga at all, I don't do it. I don't do it. It's not meant to be. I get up and I go do something else. Yoga is awesome, but it's not everything. Like there are other things that we can do with our bodies, with our minds, with our breath. It doesn't have to happen on the yoga mat itself. So for me, that works really well. I would say 7 times out of 10 that I don't feel like doing yoga, just getting on my mat, sitting and breathing for a couple minutes will get me in the mood to do yoga and will get me in the mood to practice. Those other 3 times out of 10 where I just don't feel like it, I don't do it, and I don't feel any guilt over not doing it. I try to be active. Of course, now injury, I cannot, but I try to be active once a day. And that form of activity is not something that I judge. So that's either going out to take a walk, it's either going to the gym to do my Greco classes or to drop into a studio yoga class, or it's to move on my mat at home. As long as I've done one of those 3 things at least 5 times a week, I feel really, really, really good in my body. But I would say that that's my best advice. If you're feeling really lazy, just go sit on your mat, see what happens. If it's not working right now, don't worry about it. Move on to something else. What do you enjoy doing in your downtime? That's asked by Robert. Okay, I'm a huge TV junkie. I love television. I'm not a movie buff. I'm not as big into movies. I love television series. So I watch Netflix for sure. If you have any series to recommend me, please do. I just finished The Crown, and now I'm starting Call the Midwife, which is really good. Yeah, I love, love, love watching TV. Something else that I do in my downtime is going outside. So now we have Luna. I'm wondering, she's sleeping over in the corner. I'll have to see if I can show her to you. Actually, I want to show her to you. There's my little Luna. I don't know why she sleeps that way. She always just kind of goes to sleep against the wall. I don't want to show you my floors. They're very dirty because I can't do any cleaning. So yeah, that's kind of what I like to do in my downtime. I read a lot. I listen to a ton of audiobooks. So that's what I like to do. And otherwise, I go out with friends a lot. I try to go out at least once a week. I like to go out, have a beer, or just go chill out with my girlfriends. I love my girlfriends. And that's something I highly recommend to all women is, to try to get yourself a solid group of girlfriends. There's nothing like it. So that's usually what I like to do. Okay. Where can men find nice yoga wear? Robert, I'm so sorry. I don't know. My boyfriend, Anthony, practices yoga from time to time, and he has asked me this question multiple times. We just haven't found anything that's high quality. So if anyone out there can answer that question, I would highly appreciate it, because we're actually looking for some high quality activewear for men that's not like super tight and revealing, because that's not a good time for anyone. Okay, Ollie asks, and this is a good question, are you planning on organizing any yoga retreats this year? Yes. Okay, guys, look how stupid my hand looks. I can't like straighten my fingers. Anyway, whatever. Yoga retreats. Yes, I've gotten so many emails, messages, comments, all that jazz about yoga retreats. I will be announcing new ones soon. So I am planning to do a short, like 4 or 5 day long weekend getaway in Block Island, which is in the US, probably in October of this year. So that probably won't be announced for another month or so. I still have to work out all of the details, but I think in October I'll have like a mini retreat. And then next year in 2019, I'm going to be running my Costa Rica retreat again. It's going to be probably end of March 2019, but again, the dates are not committed or released. And I'm also planning, and this is like very, very, very early beginning stages, but I'm planning like a wine and yoga retreat in the south of France. And that I think is going to be in the fall of 2019. So all of these are going to be announced over the next 2 months or so. I wish I could announce them right now, but I can't just yet. But yes, I do want to do more yoga retreats for sure. It's just, guys, like, you have no idea how hard they are to plan. And they're risky too, right? Because as a teacher, you need to really make sure that people are going to sign up for your yoga retreat. Otherwise, you lose a ton of money. So, because you pay deposits on all these things. So there's a lot of logistical work that goes on behind the scenes. But don't worry, I'm working every day a little bit on it, and I hope to have all the dates announced in a month or two. But yes, I am planning some. Will you come retreat in France? Yes, Virginie. Yeah, in Bordeaux. I have an aunt in Bordeaux, so I'm trying to plan a retreat there. I really want to go to France. I would love to go to France. I am French. I mean, I'm from Quebec, but I would love to do that. A yoga retreat in Germany. Oh my goodness, guys, I have so many requests to go to Germany. So I think I'm going to organize something. I don't know where to go though. I've been to Dresden, Germany, and I've been to Berlin, Germany. Those were okay, but not necessarily a spot I would do a yoga retreat in. So I don't really know where to go in Germany. If you have any recommendations, send them my way. Okay, are there any other questions? Oh, do you use Audible for audiobooks? Yes, I do. And if you guys want to try Audible, I do actually have a discount code. I'm just trying to find it. Give me a second. I will go get it. Because right now I'm an affiliate for Audible, which is like you can get 1 audiobook a month. It's awesome. I end up getting like 3 audiobooks a month just because I absolutely love that service. If you go to bit.ly/audible YWK, I'll post it in the chat box here. You can get 1 free audiobook on Audible. So I just posted the link there. You can just go click on it. So it's bit.ly/audible YWK. If you go on any of my YouTube videos and you go in the description box and you just read the description, you'll see that link. And that'll, when you sign up, you'll get one free Audible or one free audiobook. How can you tell if you're an intermediate yogi or beginner yogi? That's really hard. Trying to find videos that are challenging but still doable can be kind of hard. Okay, I totally feel that. So I actually have a class coming out in a couple weeks called Beginner to Intermediate, and it's to help those yogis who are kind of like in that transition stage where they're not sure if they're beginner yet or if they're not sure if they're intermediate. So it's a class that's going to help you evolve. But you know what? It is really hard. I would say that a couple things that would make a yogi intermediate and no longer a beginner is being able to do a chaturanga push-up with good form. To me, that's like a really good line in between. Also, being able to hold poses like side plank is a good thing. And flowing through a vinyasa without having to modify the vinyasa is a good indication that you're moving from beginner to intermediate. However, in this day and age, you've probably noticed, you guys do, online yoga classes, you've noticed that what one teacher calls beginner, another teacher calls advanced. Beginner is very, very subjective. So for example, when I used to do one-on-one work with clients. So here in Ottawa, I would do private classes. And beginner students who try to do beginner classes on YouTube, like most of the beginner classes on YouTube are not beginner friendly at all, in my opinion. So many beginner classes are actually insanely difficult. A lot of beginners can't even do downward dog, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's because they are true beginners. So it really is, we've kind of lost the meaning of what beginner actually is. If you are very overweight, if you are older, if you haven't done any kind of physical exercise for the last decade, probably doing a beginner sun salutation is even going to be too much for you. So it is very hard to draw that line, but I will have a class on YouTube soon that goes from beginner to intermediate that should hopefully help you kind of make the difference between what is beginner, what is intermediate. How do I know if I can go to intermediate? Because even intermediate, I mean, if you look it up, some people will throw handstands in an intermediate class. And to me, that's crazy. A handstand is not intermediate, it's advanced. But everyone has a different opinion. So it is very hard. I do understand it. Oh, Ollie says beginner is also often used as clickbait. Yes, it is. People will throw the word beginner on anything, and it's not beginner. It's way too hard for most beginners, which is really unfortunate because then, yogis who are truly new to the practice and who really are beginners click on beginner videos, they try it, they can't do it, and then they feel like shit about themselves because they feel like they should be able to follow along with it. But I just want to tell you, if you're a beginner yoga student out there and you felt like this, it's not you that's the problem. It's online yoga teachers who are misusing the word beginner, who've lost touch with what it's like to actually work with beginner students. It was very humbling for me to work one-on-one with elderly students, elderly yogis, or severely overweight yogis who couldn't do these crazy things that we're calling beginner on YouTube. We really need to learn to use language in a way that is beneficial for everyone. So it's not you, it's the teachers. It's just hard to say what's beginner, what's intermediate. So anyway, I think I'm rambling at this point, so I apologize. What editing software do you use to edit your videos? I use Adobe Premiere Pro. The cats, love the cats. Oh man, I don't have any of the cats around me. Kit Kat was sleeping next to me, but he hopped off. Cleo's sleeping in her cat tower. So I can't show her to you, but I love the cats too. They are quite lovely. Oh, one question that I got, how are the cats adapting to Luna, my puppy? It's been rough. So Kit Kat, the gray and white cat, has been doing much better. So he's able to kind of let Luna sniff him and they play a tiny little bit. But Luna is still a puppy. She's high energy and she's too much for the cats at this point. She scares them a lot. So she gets so excited. All she wants to do is be their friend. So she runs towards them. And of course, a cat is, that's terrifying to a cat, seeing a 5-month-old German Shepherd just sprinting towards you. So Cleo hates her. I'm just going to say it. She hates her. So she's mostly been avoiding her by going up high in her cat tower. Kit Kat is slowly warming up to her. So it's a process. They've only been together for like 2.5 weeks. It's getting better day by day. I want to improve my handstands. Can you give me some advice? Sure. So I would say the key to doing handstands is to equally practice them at the wall and off the wall. So I find that teachers generally recommend that you start at the wall to get over your fear of kicking up, because that's really scary. I know for me it was really scary. So when I was first learning, I would just kick up at the wall and hold it. And then they say, okay, when you become good at kicking at the wall, then you go and you do it off of the wall and you practice, practice, practice. That's all well and good. But the part that I wish I had practiced more when I was first learning to do handstands is that just because you start being comfortable at the wall and you're now comfortable doing it off the wall does not mean you should stop practicing on the wall. So you need to be able to do both. And here's why. So the great thing about doing handstands on the wall is that they will help you train to build your endurance. So kicking up to the wall is not just about conquering your fear. It's also about developing strength in your shoulders, in your back, in your core, in your legs, hugging into the midline, all of that. So I would recommend not only are you kicking up against the wall and seeing what that's like, you also want to practice holding it for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes if you can. Then when you're practicing, because what tends to happen is that when you leave the wall and you practice kicking up into handstands without any props around you, when you're just starting off, you're only really going to be able to hold your handstand for like 2 seconds, 3 seconds. If all you're ever doing is kicking up without the support of the wall, you will never build enough strength to actually hold it there for the long haul. So you need to be practicing both on the wall and off the wall. That's really my best advice that I can give you. Have you ever been to India? No, I have not. I would love to one day, but to be honest, I'm kind of scared of going to India. I would have to travel as a group. It seems really overwhelming, but I would definitely love to go one day. But I haven't mustered up the courage to go so far and to have like such a long flight over to India. And I'm sure the culture shock is crazy from what I've heard. So one day I will make my way over there, but not quite yet. Okay, let me just scroll back up. You look like Megan Fox. Did someone tell you that? That is literally the best compliment I have ever gotten. But no, I do not. Okay, guys, are those all the questions you have for me? I don't see any other ones. Actually, let me go back to my questionnaire because I did have some questions here. Oh, one of the questions I got was someone was saying that they have a really hard time breathing through their nose in a yoga practice. And is it okay for them to breathe through their mouth? Absolutely. Breathing through your nose has some really wonderful benefits for your sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. It's a great way to calm yourself down and to really access like a deep inner power. However, if it makes you feel faint, dizzy, or lighthearted, it's not worth it. Just breathe through your mouth. If you're going to breathe through your mouth, just make sure that they are slow and controlled breaths and that you're not panting. But otherwise, yeah, absolutely, you can do that. Okay. Someone asked me, who are my favorite YouTube yoga teachers and do I do any online yoga classes? Yes, I absolutely do online yoga classes at home. So one way that I got started with yoga way back when, I used to have like a Yoga Glow membership. I don't anymore. But my favorite teacher on there was Jo Tastula. She's a wonderful teacher from Australia, I believe. So I love, love, love her classes. On YouTube, I love Brett Larkin. Brett and I have collaborated many times in the past. She has stellar videos. They are so beautifully made. She has excellent sequencing. She's truly an amazing teacher, so I highly recommend Brett's classes. I love also Sarah Beth Yoga, which I know you guys love too. Sarah Beth is amazing. She has some wonderful, wonderful sequences. Who else do I do on YouTube? Leslie Fightmaster is great as well. Love her. Who else? I think that might be it of who I practice with on YouTube. Other classes that I love from yoga teachers online are Meghan Curry. So if you're not familiar with Meghan Curry, I love her classes. I think I bought her package from Cody, like the Cody app. I do her classes a lot. She's really, really, really good. I don't know if she has anything on YouTube, but she has some content online. I would highly recommend her for sure. Sorry, there's like a lot of stuff coming in. Okay, I'm just getting troll comments right now. Can you show your abs? No, I don't have abs. I have belly fat, which I love. Are you vegan? No. Oh, this is a good question. How do you deal with challenging students? So right now at this moment, I'm not teaching any public classes, obviously because of my injury, but I've also kind of taken a break from it. Challenging students are very hard. Students can be challenging because sometimes they will try to, I don't know, be the center of attention is often what I've found. They don't like that a teacher has the spotlight. So sometimes they tend to overstep their boundaries. Boundary crossing is a big thing for yoga teachers to be really aware of. So I have to say that I am lucky because my personality style helps me reinforce boundaries, meaning that I'm not introverted, I'm not shy. I'm a pretty confident person. I'm a pretty loud person. And I have no problems with confrontation and standing up for myself. So I have many times in the past had to have polite but firm conversations with students, either during the class because they were being insanely distracting or completely inappropriate, or I have pulled them aside after class to tell them that their behavior is disrespectful and I will not be allowing them back in my class unless they do X, Y, and Z. It's very important for teachers to know that you set the tone for your class. Students are looking to you to create a warm, safe space for them to practice in. If one student is distracting everyone else from their practice, it is your responsibility as a teacher to just kind of suck it up and address the issue. I know it's hard, I know it's uncomfortable, and it feels difficult to navigate most of the time, but it's important not only because it's a disrespectful thing to do to you as the teacher, as the leader of this group, but that person is also disrespecting every other student in that class by monopolizing all of the attention. So if appropriate, speak to that person after class, calmly state why your boundaries were crossed and what you expect from that student. And don't be afraid of going to management and getting management support. I've also had to do that in the past. Usually management will be happy to help you out. Do you think that online yoga teachers are getting bad rep because of Insta influencers who mainly focus on showing off their advanced skills? That's a good question. To be honest, I don't worry about that too much. A lot of other teachers complain about these Instagram influencers who are always doing crazy advanced poses, and people complain that it's just young, skinny white women in bikinis on the beach doing handstands, and that's not a true representation of yoga. And to that kind of criticism, I say, yeah, you're right. That's not all that yoga is. However, I think we are past the point now where all we do is sit back and judge other people for what they're doing. If you have a problem with the way yoga is being represented on the internet, on social media, I truly believe that it is your personal responsibility to change that perception, right? It's not enough now to point fingers at those Insta influencers and say, oh, I don't like what they're doing. What they're doing is wrong. They're giving yoga a bad rep. That's part of it. But the other part is, what are you going to do to fix it, right? You need to be the change that you want to see in the world, as cheesy as that might sound for me to tell you this right now. But I agree, unfollow the accounts that don't resonate with you, and then take it a step further and represent the yoga that you want to see. That means all of you people who wish that there were more simpler yoga poses being demonstrated on Instagram, well, turn on your camera, take a photo, and share it. Be the leader, be the leader, be the game changer. Call in your own tribe. Start the movement of accessible yoga, of diverse yoga, of yoga for everybody, if that's what you want to see. So maybe they are giving yoga a bad rep, but I'm not going to let that deter me from doing what I want to do. What other people choose to do on Instagram and these Insta influencers, that's their business. And I don't think it's very yogic of me to be bad-mouthing them and trashing them and pinpointing all the reasons why what I think they're doing or what they're doing is wrong. To each their own. I don't think there's anything wrong with what they're doing if they're living their truth. Their truth might be different from my truth. I just think it's everyone's responsibility to be the change that they want to see. So turn on your camera, take pictures of yourself, and go on Instagram and be the representation of real people doing real yoga instead of waiting for Insta influencers to be reflecting this real people, real yoga. It has to come from you. You are the answer. Insta influencers are not the answer at all. Hopefully I didn't offend anyone with that answer. Sometimes I get very fired up and I'm offensive. Salimo asks, are you boring? No, I'm not boring. I'm a good time, okay? Do teachers get annoyed when students skip chaturanga? I love flows, but not chaturanga, and I often wonder if the teacher is questioning why I'm in such a class if I skip them. I definitely cannot speak for all yoga teachers, but every single time I teach a yoga class, I always tell people, we're going to do vinyasas in this practice. Feel free to skip as many as you would like. Chaturanga is not for anyone. And I would rather people not do chaturanga if they are not strong enough to do it. I would say that probably 70% of the students I see doing chaturanga are not doing it properly because it takes a tremendous amount of strength and not only strength, but self-awareness to know if you're doing chaturanga correctly. This is why I always encourage students to film themselves and take pictures of themselves doing yoga. It's not to flatter yourself. It's not meant to be an ego boost. It's just that if most of you guys are only doing yoga online, which is great, and I'm not knocking it, it's very difficult to know if you actually have good alignment or not because you don't have a teacher there to correct your posture. So if you're only doing yoga at home ever, I would say that most likely you probably are doing chaturanga wrong. So if you're able to take a video of yourself and then watch it, you'll notice if you have bad form. But no, like I'm an advocate of people skipping out as many yoga poses in a yoga class as is right for you. If you don't want to do chaturanga, don't do chaturanga. And if a teacher is going to give you shit for that, that's not the right teacher for you. And it's not like there's a shortage of yoga instructors in the world. We have a ton. So go find a teacher who's going to be accessible or accepting of that. But I've never ever heard a yoga teacher complain about a student not doing a certain yoga pose. That doesn't happen. We're usually very, very supportive of people respecting their own bodies because, I mean, we don't want to be held responsible for your injuries, really. Say hello to Vlad Litvinchuk. Hello, Vlad Litvinchuk. Do you like SpongeBob anime? No. Is it a lot different giving yin or restorative classes versus regular hatha? Does it take a regular kind of energy? Yes, it is very different. So a hatha or vinyasa yoga class will usually be a little bit more challenging in nature, which means you almost need to be a bit more of a leader and a bit more of a motivator as you are cueing and guiding people through a flow. There's a bit more of an active energy and a more dynamic presence to my teaching style. So I'll move around the class a little bit more. My voice will be a little bit louder. I project more. And the intonation that I use will go up a little bit more, if that makes sense, because I need to keep people motivated, keep people on pace. Whereas with a yin or a restorative class, my intention is to get people to really ground and settle into themselves. So for those classes, I tend not to move around very much. I'm very much someone that will sit and hold space. Holding space in yin yoga is a hard task to do. You need to really be comfortable with silence. So, like, one comment that I get all the time in my yin yoga classes, you guys seem to really like the fact that I shut up and that I don't talk a lot in yin yoga. And if you do a yin yoga class with teachers, I've taken, hundreds, and often the teacher will not shut up. They just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Sometimes they talk because they have something very educational and very wise to say, and it's appropriate for them to talk. But more often than not, I find that teachers talk because they are uncomfortable with silence. It's very hard to teach with silence. It takes a certain kind of inner discipline to be able to sit in, a group of 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 people, and to be okay with stillness and silence. So yes, it is a completely different energy, but I would say for any teacher out there who wants to teach yin yoga, do not underestimate the power of silence. It is really useful, it's necessary, and it's challenging. It's challenging. Don't feel like you need to fill in every single moment with your wisdom. The student has their own wisdom inside of them, and that wisdom will only come out if they're able to tune you out and just listen to their body. So I think that's the best thing I can do as a yin yoga teacher, is to zip it. Sorry. Ooh, I got a lot of comments. Okay. In your journey of yoga so far, do you remember moments of spontaneous, deep surrender and trust? So I don't know if it was you that asked me this on Instagram, but someone asked me on Instagram if I had like a favorite yoga memory or a moment where I felt like I was going out of my body, or I had this moment of like peace and surrender. So I'm not sure if it was you, but if it was, I thought about that question, and there's one moment that comes to mind very vividly. So maybe this was in a yin yoga class here in Ottawa. The teacher was Mark Laham, a great yin yoga teacher here in Ottawa. And I was taking his yoga class, and I remember specifically we were in pigeon pose, or swan pose that we call in yin yoga. I was in pigeon pose, and I was fairly new to the practice of yin yoga. I had maybe done less than 10 classes for sure. So I was still just in the beginning of it, where I was really still struggling. I was still very tense in my poses. I still thought that yin yoga was extremely hard. And I remember being in pigeon pose and thinking like, oh my God, the pain, or not the pain, but the sensation in my hip was really intense. So, when you're in pigeon pose and you feel it in your glutes, you feel it in your hip. I was in a moment where all I could focus on was my right hip, was the sensation, was the discomfort that I felt in my hip. That was all I could think about. And then all of a sudden, it's like there was little me, which was focusing on the pain that I felt, or not the pain, I'm using pain, but really on the intensity that I felt in my hip. And then there was like this bigger me, like floating above my body, looking at it from a different perspective. And I had this like flooding moment of peace where I realized I am so much more than this one sensation. This one sensation had been overtaking my senses. But in that moment, I was able to back off and look at myself from a different perspective. It's very hard for me to use words to describe this experience because it was, I don't know, it was like an out of body spiritual experience. So it's very hard to put language around it. But I remember a moment of thinking, I am so much more than this present moment of sensation. I am so much more than the intensity I feel in my hip. Even though this intensity feels like it's taking over my entire body, it's not. I am so much more than that. And ever since that moment, my practice has been forever changed. So that's a very memorable experience that I have for sure. Have you ever done the 10-day Vipassana retreat or any interest in doing so in the future? I have never done a 10-day Vipassana retreat, and I absolutely do not want to do it. That scares the hell out of me, and I don't think I'll ever do it. So those of you not familiar with Vipassana, it's like this retreat center where you have to go for 10 days, and it's basically 10 days of nonstop meditation. You're not allowed to read, you're not allowed to talk, you're not allowed to journal, you do nothing but meditate. I can't stop talking for the life of me. That would be the hardest thing in the world. And I honestly have no desire to put myself through that. I'm sure it has amazing benefits. I have friends, I have close friends who've done it multiple times. They swear by it, but I don't know. It just sounds like torture to me. It's not interested, not interested. But I have tremendous respect for people who do that. Okay, I'm just looking through here. I've missed a lot of questions. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up, guys. So if you want to ask the last 5 questions, I'll address those, and then we're going to close it up because, oh my God, it's already been over an hour. This video is long. Why can I experience low back pain after doing yoga poses? After doing yoga poses to reduce low back pain. I'm not sure I understand the question, but if you experience low back pain during yoga, it could be for a lot of reasons. It could be because you're not engaging your core enough. It could be because your hip flexors are tight. It could be because you have a herniated or bulging disc in your spine. Could be that you're just not respecting your body and you're going a little bit too far. Could be that you're too tired. There's a lot that could play into it. But if you want a practice for low back pain, I have quite a few of them on my YouTube channel. If you type yoga with Kassandra low back, you'll see quite a few sequences for low back pain that should help. Sarah Kale asked, do you have any tips on getting into Wild Thing? This pose seems impossible to me. First tip is to do baby Wild Thing, which is with your bottom knee on the ground. It's a little bit hard to describe what baby Wild Thing looks like, but that would be the first thing. So Wild Thing is definitely a difficult pose, and it's not for everyone because your shoulder basically has to do a full rotation as you go upside down, and then you're lifting your hips up. So Wild Thing, in my opinion, is one of the most dangerous yoga poses that we have out there. That being said, it's also one of my favorite yoga poses. It works really well for me. I love it. It feels great in my body. I'll often do Wild Thing, transition to a wheel pose, and then back out. But not every person is going to be able to do Wild Thing. Depending on what your body structure is like, it just might be one of those poses that you should never do and that don't work for you. I have tons of poses like that I'll never do because it just don't work for me and my body, which is totally fine. An example of that being hero pose. So just like sitting on your shins, that doesn't work for me at all. For other people, it works great. Another example is lotus pose. I can do lotus, but it hurts my knees so much. I'm not saying that lotus pose is bad and should be avoided. I'm just saying it doesn't work for everyone. If it doesn't work for you, don't force it. The thing with Wild Thing is you need to have really strong back bends, really open hip flexors. So do a lot of lunges before you do it. I would recommend doing my 1 hour wheel pose flow on YouTube. That'll help you with your back bends, and it's going to get you into Wild Thing. Another class that I know for sure does Wild Thing is it's a 45-minute heart opening class. It's one where I know I'm wearing like black shorts and a red top. That one will take you and help you to do Wild Thing for sure. So Hannah asks, I injured my hamstring 9 months ago and I'm still experiencing tightness on that side. Do you have any advice? Patience, 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 patience. I've dealt with hamstring injuries my whole life, whole life. Um, I have very flexible, very natural, flexible, open hips, but I have very tight hamstrings. And whenever I get injured, that's usually the thing that I injured is my hamstrings. I've learned that if I do less vinyasa yoga and more yin yoga, I'll be able to increase my hamstring flexibility dramatically more. So vinyasa is awesome. I love it. I do it all the time. But when it comes to hamstring flexibility, I found that holding a pose for a long period of time with less intensity is better for me in the long run. So I would recommend resting like at least a full week, doing absolutely nothing, and then ease your way in with yin yoga and then see how that feels. Oh, this is a good question. How can I relax in poses? I get frustrated and I tend to push myself too much. Listen, no one can tell you not to push yourself. It has to be something that comes from inside. It's really hard. It's just as hard as meditating, really. That's what meditation is, really, is trying to calm your mind and not get too attached to your thoughts. The same thing happens in a yoga class. So I find that in the beginning, like 10 years ago, when I found it really hard for me to not be distracted in yoga, I found that I had to tire myself out before I got to the meditative aspect of yoga. So I would do a very active, dynamic, and powerful style of yoga. So lots of vinyasas, a little bit more focused on cardio. Or I would even just go for a run or like a really active walk before doing yoga. And then I was in a more tired physically, I was more tired, and then my mind was able to relax a little more. And then over time, I didn't need to do those workouts before, and I was able to just drop into those like more meditative mind spaces. But it's a practice, like that's what yoga is, really. So we're not supposed to already right off the bat be calm, be relaxed, be super mindful in our poses. The practice is about developing mindfulness, so it's not going to happen overnight. Okay, what's been the hardest thing to let go of since starting yoga? Ooh, that's a really good question. What's been the hardest thing to let go of since starting yoga? Hardest thing to let go of has been expectations for a final result. So, because I come from the dance world, it was always all about what you looked like and what shape your body was making and how good you were able to create that shape with your body. And then when you go to yoga practice, all of a sudden, doesn't matter what you look like. Teachers will tell you there is no end goal, there's no end pose. Letting go of that mentality was very difficult for me. Learning to not look at myself in the mirror, for example, and to practice without a mirror was really challenging because I was used to always looking at myself and correcting myself. So with yoga, I had to learn to go in, so to turn inwards and to focus on how does this feel versus what does this look like? And that was really, really, really challenging for me. Okay, two more questions. Do you read a lot of books about yoga? No, not really, honestly. I've read a lot when I was first starting my practice, but it's no, not that much. Every now and then I'll pick up one. Like last month in our book club for Lunar Yoga, we read, well, we're finishing it up right now. We read Living Your Yoga by Judith Lanciter. Love that book. Highly recommend it. But it's not something I do every day or anything like that. Tu parles français bien? Oui, je suis francophone. Je suis québécoise. Ma langue maternelle est français. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to read. There's like a paragraph here. Oh, what type of dance did or do you do? I did ballet and jazz and modern and hip hop. I did everything, but ballet was my favorite. So ballet and point shoes and all of that for sure. Okay. Sorry. Oh, okay. Last question. Can you do well in yoga without prior sports or dance background? Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say it's for sure easier for gymnasts and dancers to pick up yoga just because we're used to having a lot of body awareness and knowing what to do with our bodies and how to move them. But it's not necessary. And in fact, it does have some negative side effects because you're used to always looking at yourself, for example, like what I was saying. Oh my God, you guys are just keeping going. Oui, je suis francophone, je suis québécoise. J'enseigne en anglais, mais je vais peut-être faire une couple de cours en français. C'est un petit peu difficile d'enseigner en français, honnêtement. C'est pour ça que j'enseigne en anglais d'habitude. J'ai fait mon training en anglais. Fait que, je sais pas. Quand j'essaie d'enseigner en français, j'oublie mes mots, puis je suis pas aussi bonne, honnêtement, en français, même si français, c'est ma langue maternelle. Puis je viens de l'Outaouais, mais maintenant, je vis à Ottawa. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up. I was just saying that French is my first language and I would love to be able to teach in French, but I honestly suck at it just because my training was in English and I've always taught in English. So whenever I try to teach in French, I forget my words. It's just not intuitive to me. But maybe one day I'll have like a French yoga class on my YouTube channel. I think it would be really fun. I used to speak Spanish, but I have kind of lost it, but I used to be completely fluent. Oh, look who's joining us. Kit Kat. So he's just coming on, I guess, so we could say goodbye. All right, this is really, really fun. Sorry, I'm just reading the messages here. A cat. I know everyone is just here for the cats. I think that's the only reason people watch my yoga channel is because they want the cats. Look, buddy, it's you. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, everyone. This was so nice to say hello. Hey, baby girl. Hi. This is my little puppy, Luna. She's a serious little love bug. Oh, so sweet. She's a licker. OMG. Okay, Cleo is sleeping in her cat tower, so I can't show her to you. Okay, I keep saying I'm going to wrap it up, and then I just keep showing you my animals. Okay, I'm wrapping it up for real. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. This will be posted on my YouTube channel as well if you want to watch the replay to get all of the questions that I addressed. Thanks, guys.